Happy Monday and welcome into another episode of Good Morning Huntsville, episode number 11 as we're moving right along here, rocking and rolling. As always, Rob Pipp here. Thanks for joining us. We want to welcome you in. As we always get started, what are you thankful for this morning? A lot to be thankful for in our great community. Please leave those comments. We'd love to hear from you. Join back again here for our second appearance on Good Morning Huntsville. My good friend, the always wonderful Miss Tammy Farkas from SAAFE. Tammy, good to have you in. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for having me back. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, we didn't have too many negative comments, just a few.
Just
kidding. No,
sorry,
we don't allow that on this platform, by the way. If there's any negative comments, the boot goes right there and we're kicked out. So,
okay.
So excited though, Tammy. You're going to give us some updates about SAAFE and the event that you guys recently had, the fundraiser, and we just want to highlight all the good that's happening in the community. So many events over the weekend. I wasn't here. We traveled down to San Antonio, very quick trip, but there was a lot going on this weekend. You weren't around either. It's like we were both gone.
I know, but there was a lot, and I actually worked our resale store on Saturday, and I was like, why are we open and there was nobody? Usually we have a line. I went, oh no, it's Junkapalooza. Why did I even open today? Because and I'm sorry I missed it because I love coming down here and shopping for Junkapalooza.
Yeah, I'm a big rummager.
Oh,
and Bridget, if you're watching this morning, sweetheart, you know that. Don't make it public, but I already have. But, man, I love to rummage through stuff. I told a story just a couple of weeks ago here on the show as we got things started about going to garage sale down the street, and Miss Truitt had a electric broom that had dust all in it, and I brought it home, turned it on, and my mom wasn't too happy. She goes, get Miss Truitt's dust out of my house. But I love it. You never know what you're going to find. I think there was over 100 booths here as I was talking to Tammy and some other folks at Main Street, Huntsville, and Angela, and they said, yeah, we're expecting over 100 booths. And I think the weather played nice. My goodness,
it was beautiful.
How about that? Yesterday, Bridget and I, we came. Let me run through this. So Friday, we did the show. We took our dogs down to the dog ranch in Trinity. Love that facility to board our pets. And then we hit the road and went to San Antonio. We actually had to go to Georgetown, drop off Braylon, so her mom and dad could babysit for us, and then we went all the way to San Antonio. So it was out of the way, but it was, it was a necessary thing that we had to do. So we drove to Georgetown 3 hours. Supposed to be an hour and 45 minutes with traffic, ended up being 3 hours. We went down to San Antonio. Very awesome gospel singer down there, C.C. Winans, was at Oak Hills Church. That's where Max Lucado's church is, if folks know who he is. And it was just a great time to be down there. Very quick trip, though. And then we rolled back into Georgetown about 1:30 in the morning. Had a detour at a buddy's house in San Antonio. Got back to Georgetown, and then we just went to sleep, of course, right away. And got up in the morning and tried to hit the road a little bit earlier, but we stopped by and saw my mom. And then we got back here to Huntsville, and we were just conked out yesterday. Normally we go to church on Sundays, but Braylon wasn't feeling too hot, and Bridget and I were just kind of slow moving. So we stayed here in Huntsville yesterday, obviously, and missed all the good events. Junkapalooza happened, Diva Night.
Oh, they had the ribbon cutting for Rather Park for the new stage that the HLI class was their class project this year.
Yeah, that was all done, and I heard that was a great success. In fact, there was a really awesome picture, and I think Laura Green from the Chamber had posted it. I forgot where I saw it. But it was really cool because Sammy the Bearcat was there, and then all the HLI class was behind him, and there was confetti, and it was going towards the camera. So whoever took that photo, awesome job, by the way.
Yeah, that was a good event too.
So it was a lot of great things happening over the weekend, and it was an exciting time. But we went away. We're going to be back this weekend, so we're here right now. We're not going anywhere this weekend. I feel like every weekend that we've moved since we came back, we've been gone because we already had stuff planned. We're planning on staying in Georgetown until September, and so we had already loaded up the calendar and had everything planned out, and so we didn't backtrack on a lot of stuff that we already had planned. So instead of us already being in Georgetown, like we're having to go back quite a bit. But it was worth it. It's a lot of fun, and it's always good to be around family. I think that's important.
It is. Family is very important, and Braylon gets to spend some time with her grandparents.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah, and you got kiddos, so you want to spend time. No grandkids yet, though.
No grandkids.
No grandkids yet. Are you waiting? Are you excited about that potential of that day coming?
Yes and no. So I think they're still my babies, my two here. My oldest they've kind of decided they don't want to have kids. They're having too much fun. And so I'm like, well, and they're in North Carolina. That's too far to try to see them. But my two here, Ella's a senior. She graduates this year, and she wants to become a doctor of psychology.
Awesome.
So that's going to grandkids from her is going to wait a while.
Yeah, that's as it should. I'm not even remotely thinking about that with Braylon. It's 17 months. In fact, I don't even want her to ever date. That's the dad starting to come out of me now. But it'll happen.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, this morning, again, let us know what you're thankful for. Welcome in. We're excited to bring you this new edition, another edition of Good Morning Huntsville, where we try to highlight all the good things that are happening in our community as we continue to build the platform. Our friend Jerica from Fargo, North Dakota, already chiming in this morning as well, and a lot of you joining us throughout the social media platforms. Want to give a special thank you to all of you who are showing support early on through this venture as we are now entering officially our third week here on this 11th episode. 900 followers on Facebook, and I don't boast about that. I talk about it because I'm so thankful for this community and the support. We're trying to hit 1,000 followers and likes on Facebook by the end of this month. We've got a few days, and so I'm sure that will happen, but that's what it's all about. We're launching new sections on the website coming up soon, to where if you have some news that you would like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. So you'll be able to submit your own news articles, and the calendar is being built. I've hired Bridget unofficially to be my calendar updater, so all those things are starting to happen here on the website as well. And we're going to dig into a little bit of coverage as well, highlighting some student athletes in our community. So we're excited to bring that section here to Hello Huntsville. And little by little, every day we're adding. As you walked in, I told you, hey, we got new little waiting chairs in here.
I know, you're really starting to build it up in here.
Yeah, little by little, you gotta lay the foundation, have some new lighting that's coming in as well. And so we really want to be just a place for you to come in every morning. Or, if you don't like getting up this early, maybe you got a job where you can go in a little bit later, you can always go back and watch these episodes as well. A big week lined up, too. We're going to have Michelle Spencer joining us tomorrow with Boys and Girls Club. Elliot Herzlich, our studio sponsor from Elliot's Jewelers, will be in with us. Jason Thompson from Guardian Defense is our new Tuesday Foundation 5 sponsor. So Jason and his family will be on weekly to help us out here to be a co-host. So excited to have Jason and his family join us. Wednesdays, Kay Boning and Rick had switched spots with Greg from Sam Houston Memorial Funeral Home. So Rick and Kay Boning will be joining us on Wednesdays now as our co-host sponsor. Thursday, Justin Killingsworth in the Color Bar. And then on Fridays, Greg Smith. So we're very thankful for those Foundation 5 sponsors, getting laid out. Still have Monday available, so if you'd like to be a part of it, let us know. We expect that to sell out sometime this week, and that's really helping to lay the foundation for what we're trying to do here. And alongside those co-hosts, I want to remind you, it's not going to be just those co-hosts. We are going to have nonprofits come on and talk about what they're doing. We're going to highlight different folks from the business community. So a lot. And someone was telling me, they're like, well, Rob, how are you going to be able to fill this every single day with stuff about Huntsville? There's not a lot going on. I was like, have you seen the community calendars from multiple websites about what's going on around here?
If people say there's nothing to do in Huntsville, they just don't want to do it.
Yeah, there's
they just don't want to get out, that period.
Yeah, we were looking at the events, and I was talking to Bridget. I said, man, this is going to be like a full-time job having to load this thing up with everything that's going on around town.
Absolutely.
So there is so much going on here in Huntsville, and that's why we love this community. And we're going to bring you all that good stuff that's happening. The city staff, I really wanted to get a picture yesterday or before we left on Friday, because as I wrapped up the show, there were so many of the hardworking folks from the city of Huntsville that were out there by the new stage getting things kind of prepped and ready. And I wanted to get a group photo because I think there was about 25 guys from the city that were there just kind of huddling up and getting ready for everything that was going to be happening Saturday. But so much going on every day, Tammy, and you've seen it. You've been in this community for a while, and it just seems like there is always something to do here in Huntsville.
There is. There's always. You can find something. You don't have to go out of town. There is something to do.
Last night we were driving back, Bridget and I, at 8 o'clock. Normally Braylon goes down about 8:15, 8:30. We kind of, we got the routine down. So usually give her a bath 8 o'clock, 8:30. By 9 o'clock she's usually in bed and usually asleep by then. But we realized, hey, we're running low on groceries. And I didn't feel like going out this week, so we went last night at 8. And, of course, Braylon was fussy because she's ready to go to sleep. But I wanted to bring this up because I want to highlight the good in our community. So we left HEB and a great time to go in there late at night because it wasn't terribly busy. It's never really terribly busy. It's always easy to get in and out of there over at HEB. But it was neat because, we're coming out, get all of our shopping done, and we pull up there on 11th Street at the intersection of 45. Kind of follow me through that. And there was a car that was pulled over, and we're at that intersection, and there's a young man, and it smells like something with the car was bad. Like you could just smell something that had burned up or whatever. And Bridget said, hey, get out and help him, because nobody around. It was, it was getting kind of late, and there wasn't a whole lot of people that were driving by.
Yeah.
And so this young man, I guess it had just happened. So we got out and pulled in front of him, and he had his hazards on, and he was looking to turn left, to go over the bridge. He was going to turn left. He was before the bridge. And long story short is, his car had overheated, and it sounded like a piston in the engine. You could hear it knocking, and so I think there was some oil and stuff. But the reason I bring this up is we hop out, and as soon as we hop out, there's like another guy that comes running across from Smiley's across the highway to help out. And then there was a gentleman that has a towing wrecker service here in Huntsville, and he pulls up behind the car. So we're in front of the car that's broken down. He's behind the car, and just everybody wanted to help out. And, I hate this because we didn't get the names of anybody. I mean, we're not there to get names. Hey, buddy, let's go hang out after this. We just wanted to help. And, that tow truck driver, whoever he was, thank you for your help. He lives here in Huntsville. Didn't get a chance to get his name or his business, but he pulled over to help. And unfortunately for this young man, the young man worked at Burger King. And I was thinking, man, I wish we could have got his name, because I felt so bad for him, because apparently he had just bought this car.
Oh, no.
Didn't really know how to drive standard, but he had learned on the fly. And so I thought at first, okay, well, maybe he just, when he tried to take off, he didn't release the clutch properly and killed the engine. And so that wasn't the case, unfortunately, because we popped the hood and there was like oil and water. So, unfortunately, I think he got sold a lemon, and your heart goes out because you want to help this young man, right? And so,
absolutely.
So if you know of who this person is that works at Burger King, reach out to us and let us know. We'd like to find a way to help him, because it's just, I know that he was a young man. He's trying to get by. He's working hard. Goes out and buys a car, and and somebody may have wronged him. I'm not saying they did, but the car obviously had some issues.
Right.
And so, hopefully he can find some reliable transportation, because he's just trying to work and make a living.
Yeah.
But that's the good of this community. I mean, all of a sudden, all these people just start converging on this young man to help him. And that's what I love about Huntsville. And it's, some people in their minds are thinking like, oh, I don't want to get out and help anybody, because what if they're trying to do something? I'm sitting there thinking like, man, we're here in the middle of like a downtown road. There's some cars going by. If something's going to happen, something's going to happen. Nobody.
Yes.
And you can't have that mentality. You got to be safe, but you also, you notice, your gut's going to tell you like, hey, this guy needs serious help.
Yeah.
So that's the good of the community. Have you ever had anything like that? Like when you're driving by and.
Well, just, I guess last week I had a blowout. I was here on Sam Avenue and I had a blowout, and I pulled over, and within moments I had people behind me coming up and, can I help you change the tire? Well, I'd already called my husband, poor Tony. I was like, you got to get over here and change my tire. He's like, it's raining. I don't care. Come change my tire. But, people just walking by were like, can we help you? And it was good to know that if I didn't have Tony, if he had been working, he usually works in Groveton. If he had been at work in Groveton, I'd have had people that would have just stopped and helped. And I didn't ask for it. They just saw what happened and pulled in behind me and started asking if they could help. So, yeah, this community they're just
converges.
There for you.
All of a sudden, you're sitting in your car, Tammy, and you just feel like stuff moving around. And it's like the NASCAR crew chief, the pit stop crew chief, whatever they're called. And they're like, oh, no problem, ma'am. It's like 5 seconds later, your tires change. Exactly. Perfect. We're done. We can move on. So, but, yeah, that's the thing, too. And I posted something this morning that was just on my heart, about I think a lot of times, and this doesn't necessarily like tie directly into what we're talking about, but it does tie into different things. Maybe you've been in a situation to where you've been hurt, somebody's wronged you. I want to let you know this morning that you've got to just learn to forgive people, because the only way that you can move on and connect with your destiny, I believe, is you've got to forgive people. And maybe that's the message this morning. We're going to talk to Joshua Harris here in a few minutes from Oak Ridge Disciple House, and he's going to share a lot of his thoughts and things that he's had to battle throughout his life. And we definitely want you to be a part of this when Joshua comes on. He's not from Huntsville, but he has some connections through this community. But, man, the only way that you can move forward is you've got to forgive somebody. And I've heard of family situations. I mean, one that just comes up is, about a family's, sometimes you get bitter with an uncle or an aunt, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, that person hasn't talked to somebody for 20 years. And it's over something ridiculous. I heard a story about two brothers that weren't talking because one of the brothers got upset about a car transmission. And I'm like, and so you don't talk for 20. And look, I know that there's a backstory and there's things that happen and there's hurt that comes into your life. But at the end of the day, I've always believed that when we are on our last breath, is any of that going to matter?
No.
And so as hard as it may be, the only opportunity that you have to move on is just to forgive people. And most of it's petty anyways. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Now there's some
It
deep
is.
hurts, and and I don't want to get into that, but there are some deep, deep hurts that people have. And I understand that. And you may have been hurt in the most terrible way possible. Forgiving somebody doesn't mean you have to forget. It doesn't mean you have to be their best friend and call them up every 5 seconds. You may only talk to them one more. You may never talk to them. But you can still forgive people without talking to them. And I think you've got to overcome that hurdle. I know that there's been times in my life, Tammy, to where, things have happened. And just in my mind, I've had to say, and I haven't talked to those people. But in my mind and in my heart and through prayer, I've had to say, you know what? I forgive that person. And you just have to set your eyes on the next level because God is going to provide that. I believe that.
I do too.
That may be where people are today.
And don't hold it in your heart because that just takes up room for other things.
Yeah, there's too much hoopla going on in the world that we need to really focus on the things that matter. And so this morning, too, again, forgive somebody, move on. I believe that there's somebody out there this morning. For some reason, that was on my heart, and I just wanted to relay that to you because maybe you needed to hear that this morning. But, man, we talked earlier about this weekend, good things happening, and this community coming together. It was such a beautiful weekend. I was amazed when Bridget and I finally got up and started moving around yesterday how cool it was out. There's people in jackets here.
I know. Yes. It can't make up its mind. Hits 90 degrees and goes back down into the 70s. We're like, really? Come on, make up your mind, Texas. Texas weather.
Yeah, and we've got a good week lined up as well. A lot of events going on around Huntsville. Again, we'll get that calendar updated on HelloHuntsvilleTX.com later this week, and so you'll be able to keep up to date with all the wonderful events. Also at the Chamber website, too. If you go to the Huntsville-Walker County Chamber of Commerce, they have all of their events coming up. There's some business after-hours events that you can be a part of, and that's the cool thing, too. You don't have to be a member of the Chamber to get engaged into some of these events. I mean, you have to pay to go to some of them.
Right.
But then once you go, then you have the opportunity to become a member. So what I'm saying is you could come as a guest and experience the things the Chamber has to offer, and then maybe today you don't have a job and you're trying to look for work. You can still join the Chamber. There is a fee, but you can join the Chamber, I believe, as an individual, and that
Yes.
kind of helps you get connected to the community as well and to find work out there.
Absolutely. The Chamber is a great way to increase your business and get to know people. I say, we have people that are like, well, I don't get anything out of the Chamber. You get it. No matter what organization you join, you get out of it what you put into it. And the Chamber has so many great things to offer. Just the networking. I mean, I am so glad. I'm on the Chamber board. I'm on the executive board. And
You're on every board in town, by the way. Tammy's very humble. She's on every single board here in Huntsville.
No. But the Chamber is a good way to network. I mean, it's $10 for breakfast. Come out and for our small business breakfast, and just let people know what you've got. If you're a member, it's $10. If you're not, I believe it's $12. I think. So just come out and network. There's 50 people in the room that you can just get your name out there and let people know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's so true. And, since we're on this topic of just talking about networking and meeting people, when I came to Huntsville 4 years ago, that was one of the I wouldn't say like the end all be all, but when Dave Donahue was the manager at the local radio station, the GM here, and he wanted to bring me on full time, I said, there's two things, Dave, that when I get here that I want to make sure that we're involved in. I said, I want to make sure that we are very involved in the local chamber. I said, that is so important. And I was like, I know that we interview and talk, but I said, we need to be more involved. I said, if we can go in and be extremely involved with the chamber and then also get engaged in community service organizations such as Rotary and that, I said, I will gladly come to Huntsville. And then I said I wanted to work on having a relationship with the local paper because I think it's so important for media to work together. And so, under his leadership, it was a great opportunity for us to get involved. And then, with the privilege of working with HISD and bringing video to the kids and all that. And all that was started, and I say all that because it was all started from connections through the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, absolutely.
And I met you there.
Yep, that's...
And I met you, and you're like, Rob, go away. I don't want to talk. What are you trying to sell me? I was like, I'm not selling anything. I just want to be your friend. That's all I was looking for. And then here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
To this day, I don't think I've sold you anything. Wow. I don't think I ever have, Tammy. I need to figure out a way to sell you something.
You weren't my rep at the time.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sure there was other opportunities. I just never sold you anything. So that's great. See, friendships are built not on selling, but on gelling. So there you go. Not on selling, but gelling. Hey, we'll step aside. We'll take a break. We've got a great show coming your way. I want to thank all of you for joining us. Clint McLaren in the house, Bill Pasco. Good morning to you, Joshua Harris, Olga Schroeder, Debbie Furtado, Roderick Castillo. Many of you are out there. Let us know you're out there, by the way. Say hello. Post those comments on the social media platforms. We're broadcasting through 3 different Facebook avenues this morning, and then also on YouTube as well. And if you are coming through on the YouTube channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button as we continue to build the channel as well, and we'll keep you up to date. Podcast and more are coming on Hello Huntsville. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. More to come here. Stay with us. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Hey, good morning, Huntsville. Welcome back in episode number 11 here on Good Morning Huntsville. We are live from our beautiful studio downtown, brought to you by our good friends at Elliott's Jewelers. If you're in need of jewelry, Elliott Herzlich is the man here in Huntsville. You can go by and see him. You got to set up an appointment online very easily. Just go to elliotsjewelers.com. That's where I got my band. Bridget got her band, and I'm sure that I'll be spending a little bit more over the years as well. But he does take care of you, custom jewelry, much more. Go by and see him again. Elliott's Jewelers. He is our studio sponsor here, helping to make this platform possible. Also, good friends like Paul Oley with the Gallery. We're right next door to the Gallery, working in collaboration with Paul to help him promote his business as well. If you need custom framing, jewelry, or custom framing, he won't give you jewelry, but he'll take photos of your jewelry. You can go by and see Paul. Please go see him and let him know that you heard about us here on Hello Huntsville as well as Good Morning Huntsville. It's Paul Oley. Summer's coming up, bluebonnet photos. That time is probably already passed, but there's still opportunities to get summer photos. And get ready for the holidays coming up as well. Family portraits, corporate photos, whatever your needs are. Paul Oley at the Gallery will take care of you. Well, it's a good morning here in Huntsville, welcoming everybody in as we're just over the half-hour mark, 7:35. If you're waking up with us, again, thanks for being a part of this show. Many friends joining us. My good friend back in the Georgetown area, Wally Harmon. He is a high school baseball championship broadcaster. Well, I was broadcasting in Georgetown for several years before we were blessed to come to Huntsville, and I left, and Wally had took over the broadcasting, does a phenomenal job there. And they won a state championship this past year. So congratulations to the Eagles and to Wally Harmon and those guys. They do a phenomenal job.
Yay for them.
And that's coming one day. Hey, that's coming to Huntsville, by the way, with this new stadium and everything being built. These kids are going to do a great job. Speaking of that, I want to let the cat out of the bag. Maybe I will, since it's kind of a segueing in. We're committed to Huntsville and also surrounding communities. And I'm very fortunate. Wanted to get back into the broadcasting saddle. And our local sports here have been covered by some opportunities, folks taking good care of our local sports teams here. But there is a town that's just right to our north that I wanted to make sure has coverage. And so I've worked out some deals with New Waverly ISD and Coach Schaub up there, and honored and privileged that through our other platform, SHN Sports, we're going to be covering New Waverly coming up, maybe doing a little baseball and softball during their playoff run, and then going full force with their football program as well. So they're in Walker County. They're as much of a part of Huntsville as anyone in this area, and so very excited to be able to bring New Waverly broadcast coverage through SHN Sports coming up this fall. Somebody said, Rob, you can't stay out of the saddle long, and I was talking to some folks, and they're like, New Waverly needs some help. And I've had some opportunities with some bigger schools that were a little bit farther away, even possibly working with a junior college. But we really want to make sure, getting back to my roots, that's how I started in broadcasting, Tammy, was covering our very first school that we ever covered was a 3A program north of Georgetown. And being able to cover those kids up at Jarrell and now with the opportunity to kind of bring that professional platform to New Waverly, those kids need the exposure. And it doesn't mean I've forgotten about Huntsville. We're still going to highlight student athletes here in Huntsville and promote those kids, and we'll have them on this show from time to time as well as the coaches. So we're still going to promote Huntsville ISD here on Hello Huntsville. But for me, personally, as a broadcaster, I'll be covering New Waverly coming up. And so we'll have some sponsorship opportunities there to help bring a platform to that community that they haven't had before. And a big thank you to New Waverly ISD and Coach Schaub. Excited about that. Going to be fun.
Well, you love doing it for the kids.
Yeah,
So,
100%.
and I don't care what size school you're in. Those kids play and work hard for what they accomplish. And I think this is great for them to be able to have something like this happen. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you to the community for their support as well. Also, some folks joining us from our Huntsville, Texas News and Events group saying good morning. We don't get the names on those because of the way the privacy settings are, but whoever's saying morning, Rob, there, thank you for chiming in. Well, I don't want to keep him waiting any longer. He's been sitting back there in the green room, and he's already smiling. I haven't brought him on yet, but it's my good friend, someone that I met almost a decade ago. And when I say decade ago, here we go, Mr. Joshua Harris of the Oak Ridge Disciple House. Joshua, welcome in. What is going on, my man?
Let's do a sound check. Can you hear me okay?
I got you loud and clear. I always have you loud and clear.
Well, I got to make sure because this signal out here sometimes at my house can be a little bit crazy. I'm on Sabbath today, and so I'm home kind of doing my own thing and getting things taken care of in my own personal life for the week. And so I just want to make sure that the sound is good. How are we doing this morning in Huntsville?
Hey, brother, we are doing good. Good to have you on. And, last week had your buddy Chris Fallett on to talk about the Disciple House there in Conroe, Texas. But this is the man right here, for those of you watching that are on the right of your screen, Mr. Joshua Harris, that Chris was actually in the first class, second group graduating from Oak Ridge. Joshua's became a good friend of mine over the years, the past decade, and we share a lot of fun stories and a lot of jokes. And one of the best ones, as we always say, get on down here and get on down here and get the rest of it.
History of his. Yeah. Now, hey, I want to thank you for having me this morning and being able to come down to Huntsville via Killeen, Texas, to get the rest of it. We do have some crazy cool memories and stories, doing a lot of work together just through the radio and through sports broadcasting and then through, discipleship and nonprofit work. And man, Rob, my friendship with you has meant the world to me in my heart and I love your family. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to just come on and encourage people and share this morning. And good morning to you, ma'am.
Good morning.
Y'all are doing a great job. And it's been great to listen to y'all kind of get things going on a Monday morning.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, appreciate you joining us in. We're going to learn more about the Oak Ridge Disciple House and the great work that they're doing and a brief history of just Josh's story. Before we dig into that phrase, get the rest of it, it started. I got to edge because people are like, what are they talking about? It's one of those little inside things. So I do have to talk about this so people aren't confused. I was going to a church back in the day, and a young man that was the youth pastor then told me a story about a revival that he went to in Louisiana. And there was this preacher, had that real heavy, thick Cajun accent. And anyways, there was they were having a wave in the church, and everybody was, getting after it and having a good time. And the Spirit was on full flow down there. And I'm not being sacrilegious. I'm not knocking it. But there was a guy, a big old heavyset guy, and I guess he was wearing like a white shirt, and his belly was popping out, and he had a hairy belly. And just picture that, Josh. You already know the story. And so just picture this, as this Cajun preacher was there at the up front, and he sees this guy in the back, and he goes, "Come on down here and get the rest of it, huh? Come on down here and get the rest of it." And that's how it started. So he goes, "Come on down here and get the rest. Bring your old hairy belly down here and get the rest of it." And that's where it started. So Josh and I joke around, and we always say, "Get on down here and get the rest of it." So good, fun stories, Josh.
We have been saying that. Yeah, we have been saying that since we met, since you told me that story. And goodness, it's
it's always good fun. It's always good fun. I know
some pastors like, yeah. And so anyway, that was good this morning. Hey, Rob, I want to share with you, because I listened to you talk about kind of what's on your heart this morning with forgiveness and how important that is for us to just be healthy in our own spirit. And this morning's devotional, I don't know if did you read what I sent you this morning? Is that kind of what kind of spurred it?
Yeah,
I
man.
Read it if you already read it.
Yeah, no, spur it right now.
Okay, so what I've been sending everybody this morning in my time of just encouraging people is this little devotional, and it says this. It says, from Psalm 86:5, "You, Lord, are good and ready to forgive and abundant in mercy to all those who call upon you. Just real quickly says, once we know that nothing we have ever done can get God to reject us because of what we are, we can feel free to forgive ourselves and others for whatever we or they have done. And each time we forgive ourselves or others, we pull our feet out of yesterday's failures and begin to hope again for tomorrow's blessings. And so, man, I thought, man, wow, that's got to be something God's really working in today is forgiveness. And we all have things that we can forgive ourselves for, because, boy, I tell you what, I know I've been a mess. And thank God he turns messes into messages. And then we all hold on to bitterness and things that maybe will hold us back. And so I just thought that was great, and it tied into what I was being encouraged by this morning. So, man, let's just forgive and find that grace. We've been shown so much grace. We got to show that to others so that we can, really continue to grow. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, man, good word and a good tie-in. Joshua Harris, the founder, executive director of Oak Ridge Disciple House, just north of the Georgetown area, joining us today. Kind of ties in last week when we had Chris Fallett of Interfaith Disciple House on. And Josh, I just wanted to give folks here, you came into Huntsville last 2 weeks ago, and it was great because I honestly, and I go back a decade, I just haven't had a day to where I got to spend with a friend. I mean, you spend maybe a part of a day. Joshua came in early in the morning, and we literally spent all day and through the night together. Took him around Huntsville, saw this beautiful community. He loved everything around here, and then we spent that night at Interfaith. Josh, just kind of dig in. Give us, and I know that this, we got to have you on for a full segment to really go over your full story, but kind of dig us into just who you are and tell us a little bit about your journey, man, because it's an incredible story that, again, somebody out there needs to hear, and it's going to tie into forgiveness somehow this morning.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. We don't have a teacher, and I'm looking forward to encouraging folks in our broadcast down real road. We kind of just, we want to just kind of surround this thing with forgiveness. I've had a crazy life. I've been a mess of a man and a childhood hurt and all those kind of things. But just to kind of set the foundation of it, I was went through a lot of abuse as a child. My childhood began with my mother passing away when I was about 1 year old, and I never knew her. And then my dad got remarried when I was 3 years old. And we moved from California, where he was in the military and got out of the military, to Houston, and that's where I grew up. He got remarried when I was 3, and we joined this kind of blended family. I had an older brother and sister, and he married a woman who had 4 children already, and we were just this big, I just call it what it is, a big dysfunctional Brady Bunch. And, there was a lot of physical abuse from my stepmom, who, didn't know any better. I wasn't raised in the church. I didn't know, anything about Jesus and his saving grace and mercy and love until my adult life. But so it was just a big dysfunctional family, and a lot of abuse from my stepmother, a lot of beatings, things like that. And at 9 years old, my world just completely, disintegrated into just this big explosion, where my father was exposed as not a good man. He was my hero my whole life, from up until 9 years old. He was my coach. He was my dad. He was to me the dad that I am to my children today, where there's nothing I won't do for them, and there's not a place that they go and an activity that they're involved in that I won't be a part of. And I have, by the way, I have 3 beautiful children. I have Luke, who's a freshman at the University of Texas, just finishing his first year this week. Praise God, he's had a great first year. I have Matthew, who's a senior and graduating in just a few weeks and heading off to the University of Texas. And then Emily is finishing her freshman year in high school. And I need prayers for that one, because
here we go.
He's going to split our home right in half. Both of my boys want to follow in their mom's footsteps and be pharmacists. And Emily has her heart and eyes set on being a vet. And so anyone out there that knows colleges and competition and all those things know that a vet in the state of Texas more than likely will go to Texas A&M. And so, yeah, we're gonna have a house divided here coming up in just a few
Which that
years.
maroon looks a little better than burnt orange, because when people say they bleed,
Oh, here
Josh,
we
I got to
go.
tell you real quick, man, when people
There we
say
go.
that they bleed burnt orange, they need to go to the doctor. That is not healthy. Maroon is more of a color of blood, so I did want to point that out. And I did also want to point out that people here in Huntsville, they're a little more educated than Longhorn fans because they don't say we bleed orange here as Bearcat fans because they know that they don't bleed orange. It's not healthy. So I did want to let you know that this morning.
That whole little segment you just did, the stream was broken up. I didn't really get to hear you real well. And so I don't know what you said. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, it's going to be fun, though. I'm so proud of all my kids. And so my dad at the time was in my life was the dad that I always wanted and I try to be for my kids. But at 9 years old, he was exposed as living a separate life and a different life. And there's a lot to the story, but he was exposed. He had been sexually molesting my sister, who was 3 years older than me, from the time she was 3 until she was 13. She came out and told one of my stepsisters what was going on. They confronted him. And literally, Rob, you know the story. I heard a big fight in my house, 9 years old. I run to the bathroom upstairs, and I look out the window, and I hear a door slam. I don't know what's going on at the time. But for whatever reason, at that moment, I knew something bad was happening. And I watched my dad get in his car and slam the door. And literally, the hero of my life drove down the road. And I watched his taillights till I couldn't see them anymore. And he drove right out of my life. And I never saw him again. And so my stepmom, my brother was old enough to go out onto his own. My stepmom just decided, you know what? I don't want to have anything to do with this guy's kids. And kind of blamed my sister. I mean, just puts a lump in my throat every time I say that. And we were kicked out and put into orphanages in Houston. And that's where I was until I was 18, had an adoption that didn't go well because they wanted to replace a son. And so here at 18, 19 years old, 20 years old, I get out on my own and I have this huge hole in my heart and this big chip on my shoulder of hatred and rage and anger. And I have nobody. Find out my sister and my brother have both gone into these alternative lifestyles because of the anger and the bitterness towards my dad. I found out that my dad had abused my brother before my sister, and it was just a mess. And so here I am alone, big hole in my heart. And my best friend at the time walked up to me at a party and said, "Hey man, try this." I mean, I was always fighting and you couldn't look at me wrong. I was so angry, such an angry young man. And walked up to me and said, "Hey, try this." And it was powder cocaine. And I did that first line of cocaine, Rob. And as you know, that was it, man. I was off to the races. And there's so much to everything that I was involved in through about 15 years of addiction. And anything you can think of, or if you've ever known anybody in that life, or you yourself have been in that life, everything that you could get involved in that life, from jail and dealing drugs and cheating people. And I mean, I just destroyed basically, here's the way to look at it. I destroyed everything good around me for about 15 years. And, so much to that. But in that 15 years, I met Linda and tricked her into marrying me. She didn't know really what she was getting involved with. And, I was a great master manipulator, as addicts are, and just destroyed her for the first 3 years of our marriage. And I found myself in a hotel room on May 19th, 2005. And I had rented that hotel room for one reason, and that was just to never leave. I spent 3 days in that hotel room trying to blow my heart up. And on the 21st of May, 2005, I just screamed out to whatever God I knew at that time. I had been playing church because my wife was a Christian and I'd been going to church and actually met her in the church and at Victory Baptist Church in Leander. I had moved to Austin years before that. And then, of course, just did that whole 6th Street thing. And there's, like I said, there's so much. I don't want to rabbit trail too much. You know me, Rob. I'll get going.
No, that's all right.
And so anyway, I was in that hotel room on the 21st. I screamed out to whatever God, and I say it like this because it's so true, I had been using for my benefit, not his glory, but my benefit at the time, using the church, using, good good, godly Christians that were trying to love me. And I just screamed out to that God, just let me die. And I meant it. I hated who I had become. And I heard God for the first time. It wasn't anything weird. He didn't tell me to come down here and get the rest of it. He just said to my heart, are you ready? I just felt those 3 words in my heart, in my soul. And I screamed back out, ready for what? And God said, have you had enough? Are you ready to change? In my spirit. And I just fell on my face. And for the first time on May 21st, 2005, I just surrendered. I said, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be this person anymore. If you're real, help me. Because I had reached a point, folks, that I hated what was looking back at me in the mirror. I could not stand the man in the mirror. I would literally, after doing these destructive behaviors over and over again, I would literally look in the mirror and just spit because I couldn't stand the man that was looking back at me. And at that moment, after screaming out, that I believe with all my heart, that was my surrender. That was when I asked Jesus to be the Lord of my life. Even though I didn't really know what I was doing, he did, praise God. And he said, pick up the phone and call Pastor Bob Davis, who had become like a dad to me. He was a man that never judged me. I called him Pop, as a matter of fact. He's the only other man in my life besides my dad that I ever felt like was a dad. I've got great mentors, and there's other men that are like dads to me today, but he was a good man. He's with the Lord now. And he said, call Pop. And I picked up the phone and I called Pop. And I said, I need help. He said, I know, son. He's the only other man that called me son that mattered. And he said, get over here. I'll help you. And I did. I should have never made it over there driving my truck because I'd been up for 3 days. But God got me over there. And when he opened the door, man, this man had those. I don't know if you've ever met people, and I know you have, but when you meet somebody who you know is just walking with the Lord and loves the Lord so much, and he just had these beautiful, I call them Jesus eyes, and he just looked at me and he just gave me a hug and he said, I'm going to help you. And he had it all set up. I was headed to Denver City, Texas, and there's a lot of stuff to that story that's funny because I thought I was going to Denver, Colorado.
Thought you were going skiing, man.
Skiing and snowboarding, and man, I was going to go take a vacation and get my life together. But there's a Denver City in Texas, and it's right on the border of New Mexico, and it's the desert, and it's
no trees.
It's where God brought me to save my life. And I went through discipleship training like we do today for these families and these men, and it changed my life. It really, really taught me and transformed my heart. And what the first thing that we can kind of tie into this morning's theme, it taught me to forgive. It taught me discipleship and the Bible and worship and serving others taught me how to forgive myself first, because that's the most important key to real, true life in living is to forgive yourself. And in forgiving myself, I was then able to forgive my dad and everyone who had ever hurt me or wronged me in my life. But more than that, it helped me to forgive myself and then to be able to forgive myself for everyone that I had hurt, because I had destroyed a lot of lives in the 15 years of destruction, especially my own family, my wife and my marriage. And so it taught me to forgive. And then I came home after graduating from discipleship training. I did 7 months up there, and man, I just had surrendered. And I told God, about halfway through discipleship, I just really felt this calling on my heart. And I told God, I said, I don't want to work in the world anymore. I don't want to sell things anymore. I mean, I'd always been in sales of some sort, selling and taking advantage of people. And he had gifted me with the ability to build rapport and to start businesses and to do things, but I'd always destroy them because of my addiction. But I was really good at starting things and selling homes and home loans and cars and insurance. I was a good salesman, and God took all of that and used it for good to become an evangelist for his glory and to do recovery and to help others find freedom. And that's my whole heart, is to give men an opportunity like Oak Ridge and like Interfaith, give men an opportunity to find this freedom that I found in surrender every day for the rest of my life. And y'all talked about it with Chris. This addiction is in my body forever because I invited it in. But what's not in my heart is that addiction. And so I live in my heart every day because that's where the Lord is. And I teach men, stay in your heart. Don't buy into the lies of the enemy. And so that's kind of a little bit of my story and why I'm so excited about what I get to do, because a man took a chance on me 18 years ago, y'all. Here coming up next month, May 22nd is the true day of my surrender. I surrendered on the 21st, but the first day of freedom with not one spot, not one speck, not one drop of alcohol, drugs, anything, any poison in my body on May 22nd, 2005. And so on the 22nd of next month, I get to celebrate 18 years of walking with the Lord in freedom. And I wake up every day, Rob, and you've known me for 10 years, to give anyone that God puts in my path an opportunity to find this freedom. And that's what that's the ministry and the calling on my life. And I'll do it until the Lord brings me home or he tells me to do something else. But I don't think he saved me for anything else.
Amen, man. Well, it's a good message this morning, Josh, of the tough battles that you've went through, but you found redemption for it. We're going to step aside. I want you to stay with us, though. We're going to step aside, take a brief break, and when we come back, I want to give folks out there an opportunity just to learn more about Oak Ridge Disciple House. We have Interfaith here down the road in Conroe, but there may be somebody out there today that's watching that says, you know what, we need to find a facility, and that's the good news. Whenever there's multiple places that you can be a part of, Joshua Harris may have a resource for you or your loved one as well. We'll step aside. We'll take a break. Don't go anywhere. We'll hear more from Joshua here in just a few moments. Also, again, keep those comments coming. Let us know that you're out there today. We'd love to hear from you. Irma Dowden here in Huntsville already saying good morning a few moments ago. And then I have to say a shout out. Irma, you're like my Huntsville mama. But this is my real mama. It is Shirley Hip joining us from Georgetown, saying good morning. So love you, Mom. And also love you, Huntsville mama. Irma out there as well. So we'll step aside. We'll take a break. Stay with us. We've got more to come here in the next 30 seconds or so. This is Good Morning Huntsville. Well, a pleasant good morning, friends. Welcome in to Good Morning Huntsville. We hope that you're waking up happy and healthy here on a Monday, a very productive week getting started. And we want you to just realize that, hey, everything in life is worth it. Get up, make a difference. And then today, if you're feeling down, reach out to somebody. Also, if there's something on your heart that's been bothering you for many, many years, forgive somebody. That's the only way that you can move on. So just have that heart of forgiveness. That's been the theme this morning. Also joining us, our good friend and also our Thursday co-host, Justin Cody Killingsworth. Hey, Jody, good morning. We'll just put Justin and Cody together. Jody Killingsworth joining us. It's Justin joining us. Appreciate you, man.
Good morning, Justin.
Look at that. He says, time for more coffee, Tammy. And look at that little graphic there on the screen. It lines up perfectly with the Elliott's Jewelers coffee mug there. So
I brought the pot.
Yeah, Tammy, by the way, if you're joining us for the first time, I just got to call her out. Tammy is one of the only, actually, she is not one of, she is the only person that I've ever met in my life that brings not just a cup of coffee with her, but a pot of coffee with her wherever she goes. So this morning she rolled up and I was a couple minutes late getting over here. And what did I see? I saw the coffee pot. And I said, all right, Tammy is in the house. So appreciate you, Tammy. Again, good morning. Let us know what you're thankful for out there, Huntsville, as we've got about 10 more minutes or so this morning on the show. We'll bring back on now our good friend of the Oak Ridge Disciple House, Joshua Harris, joining us this morning. Josh, good to have you on. I got to ask you, though, do you have a coffee pot that you carry around?
You know, Tammy, that's funny that you travel with a pot of coffee. I think that's absolutely amazing. You got to be fired up all day long. I tell you what, that is awesome.
I drink coffee all day long. I actually
have cut cup of coffee, and this way, honestly, I have only one cup of coffee on Sunday mornings, and that's kind of Starbucks has gotten so expensive, and I used to love that. And with two going into college. Soon, I just up in July, and a new daughter, 10-year-old daughter. much got me involved with, and I'm so excited. I've cut way down on the coffee intake, and so I do one Starbucks on Sunday mornings, and have really cut out the coffee and drinking a lot more water. So
there you go, man. Well, Josh also, it's amazing because part of his journey was just, being healthy and taking care of himself. And, I noticed that transformation. You showed me a picture, and I think to this day you still carry that in your wallet. He has the picture of the man that he used to be, and you can literally see the transformation when he found redemption in Christ through his addiction. Josh, I wanted to give you an opportunity too, because I have to say this, man. Getting to meet Chris, and the reality, and I know that this is all credit to Jesus, man. I want to be very clear about this. But God uses people to glorify him. And I wanted to bring this up, Josh, and I know you're very humble, and yes, the focus 1,000%, Jesus Christ, is why you're here today. But something hit me this past couple of weeks when we went out to Interfaith in Conroe. And I don't want to, I get a little emotional thinking about it, but I'm at this age now to where I start tearing up pretty easy. And I guess that comes with age. But when I was at Interfaith, Josh, I saw, because of what God did in your life, how this is impacting other people now. And seeing that room full of men would have not been possible if you hadn't stepped out in faith and shared your story and started Oak Ridge, man. And I just want to give you props, because what you have went through is touching the lives of men. And when you tell me before, hey, we've graduated 100+ men, I thought about it and I said, man, that's great. But then being there at Interfaith, seeing how now Oak Ridge has grown and you've helped another man through his journey, that all started because of what God did in your life, Josh. And I just wanted to bring that up because it's incredible to think how many people are alive today because of what Jesus has done through you.
Yeah, that, and absolutely, none of this is possible. Not any of the work that we get to do is possible if Christ hadn't saved my life 18 years ago. And I had no idea, and he did, though. I had no idea that when he didn't let me die, and I tell every guy this, he didn't let me die 18 years ago for this moment right now. He didn't let me die 18 years ago because I was going to be on this program this morning sharing the message of hope, and if you'll surrender your life and wake up every day, possible, that guy, nothing. And so I had no idea when he knocked me to my face. That's a big. When I went through Trinity, that's the home that I man, what you want me to do today? And if we'll do that, God's plans are absolutely amazing.
I think we're losing some of the connection there, Josh, that may be behind. Can you still hear us okay? For some reason, I lost your audio there for a moment. I'm not sure. For some reason, maybe if you hop out, just hop out and then hop back on, because it's very important what you're talking to this
Absolutely.
morning. Yeah, I was going to say just close that out and then hop back in, and hopefully, I know that he was saying he was having some connection problems earlier. But yeah, Tammy, it's one of those things, and I wanted to bring that up because it's so important. You never know the impact that you're going to have on somebody else's life, just like Joshua, sharing his story,
So
and
true.
that one person can impact literally. Think of the impact as you go down the road now, from one person that he battled through this, and now changing the lives of hundreds of other people because of that decision that he made to say, you know what, I'm gonna overcome this.
Right. And whose lives do they touch?
Exactly. And you think about those things and how important it is. I think, Josh, do we have you back on? Yeah, for some reason we still don't have your audio though. Oh. Man, I hate that, because you were.
Me too.
I don't know if there's a way. There may be a button on there that's like a microphone button, Josh, to where you can tap that and it'll unmute your microphone. Yeah, he says it is, but I'm not sure why we lost you there, man, because the connection was kind of cutting in and out there at the end, and man, I hate that. So, Anyways, Josh says he loves us, and that's the way it goes. Hey, we're not going to let the enemy destroy this. So Josh got the majority of his message out, and he's bouncing around on that Longhorn logo now. We're just going to have to forget about that because we're definitely not going to get the rest of that. But
and if y'all need more information, I know Rob posted it in the comments for the website.
Yeah, so if you want more information about Oak Ridge Disciple House, please go on there and visit him. Again, Joshua Harris, oakridgedisciplehouse.com. Josh, we love you, brother. Appreciate you being on today. And one other thing that I was going to highlight with Josh, we're actually working on a program. I have a nonprofit that's pending 501c3 status called Spirit Radio FM. Started a couple of years ago. It's funny, when I moved to Fargo, that area is known as Fargo Moorhead, so everybody thought it was like Spirit Radio Fargo Moorhead. I was like, guys, I started this way before I even knew I was ever even remotely going to come to Fargo. But it's a nonprofit online ministry, just a labor of love, to where we provide uplifting music and messages 24/7, 365. You can download the Spirit Radio app or go to spiritradio.fm. But Josh and I are also working on a Inspirational Monday show that we're going to have immediately following this Good Morning Huntsville here in the coming week. So you'll be able to keep up to date more and more of the inspirational messages that we'll be able to share there and through Joshua and I every Monday again on Spirit Radio. Yeah, I hate that his audio closed out, but again, today may be one of those days where you know of somebody that's struggling, and we talked about Interfaith Disciple House in Conroe. Joshua also has opportunities as well, and you can visit him online at oakridgedisciplehouse.com. He also has a video testimony on there that'll just literally bring you to tears, just more in depth about what he had to battle through and what led him to that addiction, and then eventually the redemption that he found through Jesus. So, man, important stuff, and that's what this show's about. Every day we're going to bring a nonprofit that's going to tell a story. We're going to have individuals on that tell a story, and that's what's important, because we want you to wake up knowing that no matter what you're going through, there's people out there. And it's like, this is kind of corny, but I watch Shark Tank. I mean, that show inspires me. I wake up, I see Shark Tank, and I watch that show at least every day. I watch an episode of Shark Tank. You never know what's going to trigger something.
Exactly. And some of those people, we've had regional people that have been on Shark Tank too.
I was at HEB yesterday. Check this out. So I was at HEB. We talked about it last night. And on the counter, there is foods called Tia Lupita. Do you see that right there? Tia Lupita. My Spanish is probably terrible. Irma, if I'm not saying that right, you let me know, because that is probably that's white boy Spanish there. Tia Lupita. But I'm going to tell you something though. That brand, Tia Lupita, guess what episode of Shark Tank I watched yesterday? An episode that featured Tia Lupita. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That is right here in HEB now. And it was on Shark Tank.
Absolutely.
So you never know about what's going to inspire you every day. Again, this show all week jam-packed. We have great guests coming on that are going to be joining us throughout the week. Tomorrow, Michelle Spencer with the Boys and Girls Club of Walker County will be on, highlighting what they have been up to. Great organization. They do incredible work with our youth. And then as the week goes on, a lot more folks hopping on and will be joining us. In fact, I got to go through the calendar here because we are already booked up. Michelle will be joining us. We'll talk with Caroline Krim, Dr. Krim here in Huntsville later this week in the Cinco de Mayo celebration. So she'll be able to share some of that knowledge about some events that are coming up and give us a history of Cinco de Mayo. So
that's awesome.
That'll be a lot of fun. And then Deanna Irwin's going to hop back on Friday. Deanna will talk about their recent fundraiser that they had for the Peyton Irwin Memorial Foundation. So she'll be able to give us a recap. We asked her when she first came on, will you come back and give us a recap? And she said absolutely. So she'll be joining us on Friday. Before we go, Tammy, SAAFE House, things went well with the fundraiser. I think we touched on that a little bit, but it was more than you could have expected.
It was awesome. Our 6th year was the best. This community came out. They rallied almost $5,000. So that's a lot of sandwiches. We had some great sponsors, and that money's going to go a long way to help clients and do client services. We
talked earlier, I think, what was it you guys need? Don't correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was in the neighborhood of almost $100,000 a month to stay in operation, or $30,000 a month. What was that number?
It's an average of $3,300 a day to operate, and that's not including the extras that we go above and beyond for our clients. And that comes out to just over $100,000 a month just to stay in business. So SAAFE House, providing valuable resources. We talked to Tammy last week about the needs that they have, and I know we're working on a couple of ideas. The reality is, everybody wants to give at Christmas, and that's great, and you got to give at Christmas. Don't ever stop giving at Christmas. No, please, giving season.
It's the biggest giving season, but there's needs not just around Christmas. There are needs every day of the year, and we're working on a couple of plans to try to help you guys and some other folks
Yes.
through the summer. So maybe Rays of Hope coming to Huntsville a little bit later this year in the summer.
I think so. We've got some good things going. And it's not just SAAFE House. All nonprofits need giving throughout the whole year. And most of us don't start our fiscal year in January. They start at other times during the year. So we're all good to we love our giving and our donations.
And continue to help out and support these nonprofits that honestly need your help. So before we go today, always do this now. It's a couple of things today. Man, this is a good one today. I got to tell you something. This is good today, Tammy. A couple of things going on this week. Or today, National Day of. Do you have any idea what it's the National Day of today, Tammy?
No.
Something that I really enjoy the most. Today is National Pigs in a Blanket Day.
Pigs in a blanket. That's a good idea for supper.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like it doesn't. I mean, it's one of those foods that sounds really good, and then after you eat it, and especially when you get older, you're just like, man, why did I eat that? But it's National Pigs in a Blanket Day, and also it's National Bucket List Day. So I would think that National Bucket List Day would actually be like on New Year's, not on April the 24th. So,
but
maybe your resolutions have already burned up and it's time to get back to the bucket list. I got a lot on the bucket list. I don't really have a bucket list, do you?
I have a bucket list.
Do you really?
I do.
And you keep up with it?
No. I'm way behind on it.
It's like a mental bucket list, though, or do you have it actually written down?
No, I have it written down.
Okay.
I try to check off a few. And
what's maybe one of the most outlandish things on that bucket list that you can share with us? There's probably things on there you can't, Tammy, but what is it? No, I'm just kidding. What are some of the things you can share?
Well, one is I want to see Jimmy Buffett in concert.
Oh, that would be great. Okay.
That's on my bucket list. I want to go back to Hungary. That's on my bucket list.
I go to Hungary every single day.
The country. No,
oh, okay. Just kidding. I knew that.
Not the state of mind, the country.
So you've been before to Hungary.
I have.
What was that like?
It was awe-inspiring. My husband is first-generation American-Hungarian. His mother actually migrated over during the war with all of her belongings sewn into her coat. And her grandmother, her mom, and her sister came through Ellis Island.
Wow.
And so we took her back when she passed away. We took her back to be buried, ashes spread
in
Hungary among her family. So, yeah, it was awe-inspiring.
Unbelievable. So, see, those are the stories, some things that we want to share here on the program because it's just moments like that. You think about going to another country and then honoring your mother-in-law in that way. Just unbelievable. So, my bucket list, I don't, one day to call games in the NFL or the NBA. That's really all I've got left on the bucket. I didn't have a big bucket list.
You'll get there.
Yeah, I just want to have have my family, stay here in Huntsville, be able to pay my bills, and enjoy life. That's my bucket list in a nutshell.
There you go.
And then go to the NFL or the NBA one day. But it's got to be near Huntsville. That's the thing. I told Bridget, I said, we came back and we are not moving again unless the NFL or the NBA calls. And the good news is they don't call. You got to work really hard for it. And hopefully one day, I'm believing right now, that door is going to open up somewhere close to the area at those levels. So we'll see. But if not, you know what? I'm happy. We're gonna do a lot of fun here. So Tammy, been fun today. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Anytime. I love it.
As always,
this is a great place, great show, good feelings.
Yeah. Today was a lot of fun. And as always, friends, you're more than welcome to come and join us. We have a couple of chairs here. You're more than welcome to hop in the studio with us as well. We're located right downtown off University Avenue. Literally, look out the window. The courthouse is right to our corner. And so you're more than welcome to drop by and say hello any morning. We're always here Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. as we bring you Good Morning Huntsville. Remember, keep helping others out there. Today, that theme is just forgive somebody. Somebody in your life, you've been holding on way too long. It's time to forgive them and move on. Maybe that's the word you needed to hear today to connect with your destiny. Because all of us, I believe, have God-given talents that we sometimes aren't able to utilize because of things that we're holding on to. So just forgive, move on, and connect with that destiny that you have there. And it's going to be a great day here in Huntsville. Tammy, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Again, come back on tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Elliot Herzlich of Elliot's Jewelers will join us. We'll see if Jason Thompson will be in the house. He is our new Tuesday co-host from Guardian Defense. So we'll see if Jason hops in. And also Michelle Spencer of the Boys and Girls Club. We have a jam-packed show tomorrow giving you updates of all things good in Huntsville. Until then, as I end every single broadcast and episode, I want to remind you this morning that we're not strong enough alone to make it on our own. We need each other, friends. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Somebody out there needs you. Till tomorrow morning, good morning, Huntsville, and God bless. We'll see you next time.